are the true Lord of Men, the Dark Lord.
Ashen One, hearest thou my voice still?
Of how a tarnished became Elden Lord.
The Chosen Undead, the protagonist of Dark Souls 1, is a cursed undead marked with the dark sign. Tasked with fulfilling an ancient prophecy, they set out to ring the bells of awakening, defeat the powerful lords, and link the first flame, thereby prolonging the Age of Fire. Their journey is one of persistence and overcoming overwhelming odds. The Ashen One is a protagonist of Dark Souls 3. He is an unkindled, a being who failed to link the fire in a past stage, but has revived together the Lords of Cinder and rekindled the first flame. Their quest is one of redemption, facing the challenges left by the Lord to abandon their thrones. In the Tarnished, protagonist of Elden Ring, you are an exile summoned back to the lands between by the Greater Will to restore the shattered Elden Ring and ascend to the throne as the Elden Lord. Your journey is one of the reclamation and power, navigating a world filled with gods, demigods, and ancient secrets. Now, what were we to take those three characters and pit them against each other? That's what we're going to try to find out in today's video. Hi, I'm Two Bros One Game, and I know this is going to be a bit different than my usual videos. You know, it's not real gameplay, but it is an info video because I've had this thought for a long time. I love all three of these games with my heart and soul, as well as my fists, and I just enjoy playing these games. They've got me through hard times, they've gotten me closer with friends, and it's just so fun to play. And it's probably one of the best games, all three of them probably one of the best games of all time. It started a brand new Souls genre, is Soulsborne, and it's so cool. I'm not going to go on a huge tangent here, but kind of, because I get to work on a video with my three favorite games. But in any case, the point of this video is to share if all three of these characters were pitted against each other with, you know, all equal stats and all equal, you know, all specific weapons that I've chosen I thought would fit the best for their playstyle or for, you know, just the fight in general, who would come out on top. But don't worry, I didn't just say, oh, this person's gonna win this. I studied and I put thought into this. I even had a chance to put who would win if they would lose. Kind of like, yes, they lost, but what if they could win? Could they have any chance of winning? So today we're going to be talking about this, and we're going to start on Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, and at the end we're going to put them against each other, talk about how they could utilize their weapons, who would really win in mobility, strength, endurance, who could outlast who. It's just enjoy the video, and let's get right into it. So, first off, the stats. They are all going to have a strength of 50, a dexterity of 40, intelligence of 50, faith of 50, vitality or vigor at 40, and endurance at 40. I thought I used this because a majority of the games, that's all their hard or soft caps. And going beyond that, we either make it too unstable, too beefy, or stuff like that. Another thing is, your Ashen One cannot use Ember, because Ember would not only heal you back up to full health, because Flask and Estus Flask are not allowed, because that would just, the fight could keep going, but also because Ember, like I said, it can refill it and even increase the health, so it would become too much. But at the end, we're going to add those items, and that's when we're going to talk about who could win, yada yada yada. Anyways, so what weapons or what would they use? Because they all have a wide range of weapons and spells. So for the Chosen Undead, for Dark Souls 1, I have chosen the Greatsword or Victorious, the Black Knight Shield for spells, the Dark Bead and Sunlight Spear, and I think those are great options for me, because not only are they all decently and well, you know, made weapons or defenses and spells, they're all pretty decent stats. So the Great Sword at max level does 180 base regular damage, but 127 magic damage on top of that. And it's repeated, and it's a thrust weapon, so you can do a lot. It has really nice attack speed, and you can just keep doing it. And it's good for breaking down poise, and can even be upgraded to becoming a cursed greatsword. But this is just the regular greatsword of Victorious, because if it was cursed, it'd be even stronger. but it wouldn't have the magic damage. It wouldn't have that. It wouldn't have that good attack speed. Now, using Dark Souls 1, great swords are very heavy and they're very good for breaking down poise. They're pretty broken in some cases. And they have a really good special for knockback. So whenever they hit, they knock the character back. A lot of enemies like that. So yeah. And the shield is also really good. It has 100% physical damage reduction, 25 magic, 95 fire defense, 65 lightning defense, and 74 stability. So it's really good for not breaking down your poise. Now, it also does strike, so you can push it up and do 85 damage max. So it's a really good pair with a greatsword like that. Now for the spells, I had a hard time choosing because I didn't want to use pyromancy. I didn't want to go too broken. Because I know pyromancies, especially if it was like the one where you lob the fireball, can't quite remember it at the moment, but I know that because you can keep doing it over and over and maxing out the pyromancy flame, it can get pretty broken. We're keeping it fair, keeping it equal. That's also why I'm not doing the Demon King's Great Axe, because over 500 damage seems a bit much. So, the Dark Bead is a ranged attack, and it has 7 tiny little magical orbs that in like a horizontal pattern. And of all the sorceries, it's the fastest spell. When all 7 orbs hit at close range, damage makes it one of the strongest spells in the game. It's one of the best to use at close range. It's decent far range, but better at close range, and obviously increases based on your catalyst or whatever you're using in that case. So it's really decent, or it's really good. And Sunlight Spear is also pretty. It's good for ranged attack because it's like a giant lightning, and you hurl it to what you lock on, you hurl it towards the target, and it does about 861 damage. If I was looking at the wrong one, it does about 861 damage max level if you were to do a straight on hit. 861. Now, the thing is, they all take up. In this one, there is no FP. It only takes stamina. So you could theoretically just spam spells. That's kind of a huge buff that the Chosen Undead has. Is that he has theoretically infinite FP, because all he has to do is equip a ring that increases, we're allowing Talisman and ring equips, increase a ring that increases your stamina, or use, one of the leaves that increases your stamina, like recovery rate, and you can just keep spamming that stuff. But it's if you can even hit it. It has to be directly. If it does like kind of a splash damage, which goes down to about 400 damage, but 861 or 861, is the max damage it can do. So now so the strategy that the Chosen Undead would probably do, or the Dark Lord would probably do, is to utilize the powerful melee attacks, defend and counter, and use Dark Bead for close range burst damage, and Sunlight Spear for long range attacks. So he's pretty all-round, well-rounded right now. Next is the Ashen One. For him, I've chosen the Dark Sword, the Llewellyn Shield, the Chaos Bed Vestiges for spells, the Great Lightning Spear for Llewellyn Spear. So it's another good lightning spell to kind of counteract or kind of balance out with the Dark Lord. So the Dark Sword, it used to be one of the most broken weapons in the game before it got heavily nerfed. So it's not. I chose it because I know it's still good. Now, max damage for just basic is 209. But if we were to still go with magic, it'd be like 105 damage with 120 magic damage. Flames, 105, 173 for both, and 105 for chaos. It goes up, but we're gonna do like their max at the bottom. So 209 if it's hollow plus 10. So that's their base. It's also it's a straight sword, and it has basic standard and thrust. Now this is where we get into weapon arts, or Ash of Wars, if we're going to call it for Elden Ring, but weapon arts. This one has Stomp, which allows it to, you kind of break the enemy's poise a little bit, and you do a upward thrust, which thrusts humanoids and smaller entities or medium-sized entities in the air, it's any of them in the air, and then they're on the ground for a little bit, and then you can just keep doing that again until your FP is gone. And remember, they can't, unlike, that kind of balances everything out without using Estus flags, is because even though, Dark Souls 1, the Dark Lord can spam spells, he doesn't have weapon arts to help make his two-handed weapon stronger. while the other two can you have weapon arts that are pretty broken, but they have to choose whether to use that or spells, and they have a really big FP bar. So, anyways, after that we're going to use the Llewellyn Shield, which is about 68 damage, or not damage, but 68 block for damage reduction, and it does about 152 strike damage. It has 59 stability, which is the second highest. It's a small shield, so it's lightweight, they're fast, and it's easy. And if you were to fuse it with other gems, you'd get defense. But we're using regular, it's just regular defense, because none of the weapons are going to have much status effects. But it is a decent shield, so nothing more to talk about that, other than that it can strike and it can parry. Parrying is going to be a big thing, but I don't think everything's going to be too fast-paced. I think you have time to parry. Next we're going to spells. So now we're going to talk about the Chaos Bed Vestiges, which is the first pyromancy on this list. Now, this pyromancy compared to Dark Souls 1 pyromancy, it's not that big. It is a ranged attack, and it has a straighter arc, so it's kind of straight, doesn't like curve. And it has it's one of the best pyromancies in the game. It has a large explosion, does high damage, and good FP to damage efficiency, and it has splash damage, or a large explosion, and it can hit multiple people at once. So if you were to somehow catch both the Elden Lord and the Dark Lord around the same area, he could probably hit both of them. But still, it takes a while for it to lob, and you can still see it. It travels decently well, but it has a fairly small hitbox. So, you know, if you could roll through it. So yeah, we're still adding rolling, so it's a really high risk, high reward kind of thing. Next, the Great Lightning Spear. It's a miracle. Not like incantation, it's what it's called. It's called a miracle. And it takes about a second or so to cast. Most of them are pretty instant in this game. It's pretty much identical to the Sunlight Spear. In Dark Souls 1, it's pretty much the same thing, so I'm just counting it as the same. It is about the same damage, so say about 800, because Dark Souls 3, everything's going to be a little bit nerfed. But it does a second hitbox. Otherwise, the first one, this one, it hits, and then it does, boom, another explosion. So it's about 860 in total. So instead of the 861, so we're on the same. When you really think about it, it's about the same for the whole thing. So that's his whole thing. The strategy I'm using for the Ashen Wand is it employs fast and aggressive attacks with the Dark Sword. It uses the arts for additional offensive options, and you can cast Chaos Bed Vestiges for area of effect damage and Great Lightning Spear for precision strikes. So it's kind of similar to Dark Souls 1, and it's kind of to the Dark Lord. That's why I'm slowly... It took a while for me to get this out here. So, but anyways, now we're going to move on to final person, the Tarnished, or the Elden Lord. The weapons I chose for him was a Blasphemous Blade, the Carrion Regal Scepter, and the spells is a Comet Azure and the Fame of the Fell God. And yes, I'm allowing summons because that's part of his arsenal, as well as Torrent if need be. So the summon I'm giving him is the Mimic Tear, because I feel like if you're going to go all out, you're going to have to use this. And Mimic Tears have been heavily nerfed now, so I feel like you can use them. So let's go back one by one for everything. So first we're going to talk about the Blasphemous Blade, and it's one of the best weapons in the game. One of the best bleed weapons, or not bleed weapons, but like fire weapons. It does 269 damage with 191 flame, and I think it's probably one of my favorite weapons. Now I don't use it much, but when I did use it, it's really fun. By the way, that reminds me is after we do this, I'm also going to compare the stats with my characters and see if there's any way for them to win. See if it changes the outcome at all. But that's the end. Right now, we're focusing on just these made-up characters, all equal level, equal playing field, somewhat equal at least. Yeah, and it's a great sword. They all usually have great swords except for Ashen Wand. He's kind of a long sword. But anyways, its Ash of War is Taker's Flames, which allows the user to engulf the blade with blasphemous flames, stealing HP from those it touches. So basically, it's like a soul HP. So yeah, and then you can even heal the Mimic Tear, which is doing that. So it's not chargeable, and it cannot be parried. So once he does it, it's the thing. So they gotta quickly roll out of the way. And it heals 10% of max HP plus 150 flat HP on hit. So it's just gonna be around 100. Let's see, about 240, I'd say, just to rough it up, about 240 per hit on every time it hits the person. That's how much they keep healing and healing. Which at the end of this, I'm gonna put them all on screen and just to show what their max HP is, what their max stamina is, and because I already have it right here, and then we're gonna go off of that at the end. Anyways, that's the Blasphemous Blade. Next is the Carrion Regal Scepter, which is kind of used for spells because he can't use a shield. We're only doing two-handed stuff. So, and what's cool about it is it boosts full moon sorceries, which is part of what it's like. It's basically stuff that Ronnie or Renala use during their fights, but it also has its own damage. It does magic damage. It does 24 physical. About max is 58 damage, but sorcery scaling is 373 damage. So it's around that, but max is about 373 max damage for sorceries. So that's any of the sorceries he's going to use, which is the Comet Azure, which is like a Kami Kamehameha attack, which can drain the FP and charge it, so he can't use it all, obviously, because he can't refill it. And then the Flame of the Fell God is like he kind of summons this giant sun that slowly moves around and explodes whenever it gets too close, or it explodes after a few seconds if you're regularly using it. So, and they take up heavy FP, so he's got to learn how to use that as well. But the big thing, right, is the Mimic Tear, or Mimic Tear. And the thing with that, it copies, what a Mimic Tear does is it copies your character with all the stuff you have. You can even use it, it has infinite FP, but it takes away HP. He can use it once, meaning that if he uses it, he can't heal up. So he's going to be at a disadvantage. So the strategy I tried to implement for him was use the Blasphemous Blade for health stealing melee attacks. So when he used it, he'd have to use it, then he'd have to go back to Blasphemous Blade to keep healing himself. And he'd cast Comet Azure for devastating magical damage from a distance using the Carrion Regal Scepter. Then he could summon the Mimic Tear for additional support in combat, but it's only if either he knows he's going to win, or he knows he's going to have that, you know, I can just do this, I can steal away the health, and he's going to utilize Torrent for enhanced mobility and quick repositioning. But he can't use spells, he can't use any of his stuff, so it's mostly for getting away and jumping off. So, that all the way, here are all their health stats, right here. Here's the Chosen Undead. Pause if you want to read that. Here is the Ashen One, right here, and here's the Tarnished. Here's all their stats. So now, we're going to go back into the final strategy of the fight. So the Chosen Undead, he's gonna have the Great Sword. Ashen One is gonna have the Dark Sword, and the Tarnished is gonna be on Torrent, staying mobile, and he's gonna be casting Comet Azure while the Mimic Tear engages in melee combat. That is that plan. We're gonna start from that. The Chosen Undead's strategy: use the Black Knight Shield to block incoming spells and attacks, while they counter the Great Sword of Artorias for massive damage. And they utilize Sunlight Spear to strike because the thing is, if you really think about it, since the Tarnished is going to be moving constantly, Chosen Undead should be sticking on Ashen One. They should be fighting while Tarnished is going to be kind of third-partying the whole thing, interrupting it, and trying to get their attention, or not get their attention, depending on how it is, while his Mimic Tear goes in. So while the Undead's focusing on the Ashen One is trying to put pressure on the Tarnished to try to get him in, or try to do that while avoiding that. So since Ashen One he's kind of more speed and versatile, I've noticed while playing the games, or you'll see in the background of the videos, that his rolling is a lot faster than the other two. So he's going to use Chaos Bed Vestiges to disrupt the Chosen Undead's approach, because it's a close range of heavy damage. He can't get too close. And he's always going to use the Lightning Spear to put pressure on the Tarnished and prevent them from casting spells uninterrupted. Because if you're casting a spell such as the Kamehameha attack, or the Azure, if you get hit, it breaks it. The Tarnished strategy would be to leverage the mobility of Torrent to avoid direct confrontation, positioning themselves for optimal use of the Combat Azure, so standing kind of far back. The Mimic Tear provides a constant threat, dividing the attention of both the Undead and the Ashen One, and the Blasphemous Blade health-stealing attack ensure the Tarnished remains resilient at prolonged combat. You can kind of see where this is going to go. Eventually, the Tarnished would win. because of how mobile he can be on Torrent, because of how just the Commodore has a huge range and big attack. They could roll out of it, but if they get caught stuck, especially if the Ashen One's using his weapon arts and he knocks the Chosen Undead off, and he can catch them both. And that's just that. It's just the Blaster's Blade. The flame arts is so long and so ranged, and you can't dodge or parry it. You're kind of done for. And he summons a Mimic Tier, gets in there, does a couple hits, back off, and the Mimic Tier. Now there's a 4v2. So the summon allies in Torrent, it gave a really big edge. But the Tarnished. He obviously is going to win. Let's talk about the other two. There's got to be a way that they could win. So how the Chosen Undead could win is if he were to be more precise and strategic with the use of Black Knight Shield, he could block critical attacks, capitalize on openings with the sword, Great Sword. And since Dark Beat's burst damage, Sunlight Spear's range could keep the Tarnished One and Asher One at bay, he could probably outlast them by the time that the FP runs out, or they've broken their poise and he can riposte or backstab them. And I didn't even bring this up, and most of the people thought I forgot. No, I'm still bringing in armor, especially Havel's armor, the most powerful armor, the best armor in the game, with 92% physical damage. They're all gonna have the best armor, and I didn't fully flesh it out, but just basically, no matter what, none of the armor is getting close to Havel's armor. So I feel like second place is going to be Chosen Undead, because the Asher One, while he's quick and he's got powerful stuff and his spellcasting can explore the weaknesses of both opponents, and the area effect damage with the Chaos Bed could easily melt through the Mimic Tier. It's just the Chosen Undead and the Tarnished really come out as a mid to high diff. Really just depends. If it's a one-on-one, I feel like it could go either way. But with the Asher One in there, he kind of has no choice of winning unless he gets lucky with his weapon arts and can kill Torrent and the Mimic Tier. So, but you gotta remember the whole FP, as you can see. So the Tarnish is gonna win. His versatility and summons and mobility they're big factors. But like I said, their outcomes can easily shift with different strategies and circumstances. But the main thing is, they're all really good in their own stories. They're all just amazing. They get stronger with every iteration. They get better. They get faster. They all embody resilience, skill, and determination, and that is what defines the Soulborn series. But anyways, I want you to thank you for watching the video. And before we end, I was gonna bring in my characters, but I'm gonna show them on screen. You've kind of been watching them. For like in the backgrounds for most of it as I'm talking, but no, my Tarnished would destroy the other two, and the reason why is because of my hammer that I have equipped. Here's a quick clip of it. Yeah, it does like 3 shockwaves and does close to like 4,000 to 5,000 damage, which I want to tell you that right now. The max damage you can have for both the Ashen One and Chosen Undead is only about 2,000. So yeah, he's winning instantly. Just goes up 1 heavy attack or 2 light attack. It's done. It's over. But no, that's I just want to do that real quick, and I do a lot. I love this. I love making this video. I love studying and researching this. And yeah, I hope all of you have a fantastic day. I have more videos coming out, and I have another big one I'm working on, and it's gonna be another different one, but I promise that I get that one out. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me your thoughts below, who you really think could win. Or maybe if I should do another one like this, or maybe do one where they're all max level, even though it wouldn't be that big. But yeah, or maybe another who would win in game series. And the reason why I didn't include Dark Souls 2 or Demon Souls or Bloodborne, all this stuff, is because I haven't played those, and Dark Souls 2 is already not my favorite anyways. I've tried playing it, don't like it. But anyways, I'm prolonging this ending long enough. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day.